This is the breakdown of two of the biggest icons in the world creating fashion brands, Kim Kardashian and Beyonce. How come one is worth $4 billion and the other one has got shut down twice? In this breakdown, I go into what are the keys to make a successful win-win influencer brand deal, key pitfalls to look out for, and how we're going to see so many more of these influencer creator deals in the future, and my prediction that the creators can become the new retailers. First, let's break down Kim Kardashian and Beyonce, two of the biggest icons of popular culture. Look at this followers. Kim Kardashian, 364 million. Beyonce, 319 million. These are some of the biggest on the planet. So they've both launched fashion brands in the last few years. Kim Kardashian with Skims, Beyonce with Ivy Park, and they've used two different partner methods. Skims used this power couple in influencer marketing, Emma and Jens Grady, and Ivy Park went with the big corporate behemoth Adidas. Year one, both brands do almost $100 million out of the gate. 93 million for Beyonce with Ivy Park and 100 mil for Skims. They both created enormous hype around their launches. This is because they've got the biggest megaphones on the planet, 360 million followers. Both went all in on the launch with full campaigns, story, and execution, both having drops where they sell out within minutes. Year two, how does Kim go to 400 million in sales, but Beyonce's only 40 million? And then year three, she shuts it down completely with Adidas, while Kim jumps to 500 and projected to do over 750 million this year. What is the difference? In my experience in building Culture Kings, I did a lot of influencer joint venture deals. I built around 12 individual brands inside, some only doing a few $1 million a year, but some doing over $30 million a year. For years, I've always been thinking that influencer is the new retailer. If you use their megaphone, but back it up with the great product, it's just way better than starting from zero. And this is the part. They're doing 9 figures out the gate. It is absolutely phenomenal. But how does Beyonce's one go so wrong? The funny thing about Beyonce, this isn't her first rodeo. I remember she did Ivy Park with Topshop in about 2016. Very similar. Did the big campaign. She was all on the shoot. It went super viral and it was hype. A few years later, it went to zero and she canceled the deal with Topshop. How does this happen again? Launches it with Adidas. She does the hype, does amazing campaign, shoot and launch strategy, but why do the sales drop and fall off? This is the reason. She loses interest in the brand and you can feel it. You can tell she loses interest in it because she doesn't wear the product. She doesn't do anything else with it, promoting it, showing the behind the scenes. There's nothing and it just completely falls off. Yes, that hype and megaphone can get them in, but it's not going to pull them back unless you take them on the journey, unless you build the story, unless that fan feels a true connection to the brand and the talent. I get why she can lose interest in it. When these icons get to this level, they have the fuck you money. This money will not change their life in any way. The launch of this brand, she's got to put in all this time and effort. And off this, she would at best case make a 10% royalty net of it, say 9.3 million. But Beyonce is like a Taylor Swift. She can go out any night of the week and basically sell a tour herself in which she would bank between $2 and $8 million and just simply play for 2 hours compared to all the time investing into this. For Beyonce, her brand is most important. She's super private, which means she doesn't get as close a connection to her audience. She comes across from her godlike status. If you read the book 48 Laws of Power, it can definitely help, but this is not what connects people to the brand long term. This is where they can fall off from that initial excitement and launch. You can see the second campaign was slow to market. The product didn't look like it had as much of that Beyonce influence behind it, and you can just see it fall off. On this $40 million of sales, Beyonce would have very little out of this. This would be a huge problem for Adidas because they were predicting 160 million of sales. Those in retail know if you predict 160 million and you land on 40, you have a massive inventory problem, which goes from being a profit to a massive loss in how you have to discount and clear this inventory, which eventually led to Adidas and Beyonce separating. Another aspect is that working with Adidas, a huge company with tens of thousands of employees, is that it would be hard for Beyonce and her team to get that real connection and that speed of feedback loop that's required in the fashion industry today. Because you've got to build this scalable flywheel that's working off the trends, off the product, and cycling that back through as fast as possible. Now, let's break down Kim and her Skims brand. She chose to partner with Emma and Jens Grady. This is a power couple in retail. that had built the Good America brand with Khloe Kardashian. And what a home run that had been. It was the textbook of influencer brands because it had such a congruent story of Khloe making her jeans and Emma and Jen's amazing ability to build both the marketing flywheel and the epic production to create premium price point product and create this profitable flywheel. In doing this with a sister, it seemed like a no-brainer to work with Kim. And you can see from having this smaller, closer-knit team, there's such a stronger connection there between the creative and the vision of Kim. And a great example of running this smaller entrepreneurial flair that you can see in solving problems is that they actually didn't call Skims Skims. It was called Kyomo, which Kim, on the launch of it, got all this cultural misappropriation backlash. But rather than whinge or blame or who's the fault for years, they just flipped it and changed the name to Skims and then just relaunched it again. They were able to pivot and move so much faster. But then how did they go 100 to 400 million the next year? Kim did not lose interest in the project. She gained interest, influencing it through her content, through her TV show, through her sisters, through every part of her social content. She was incorporating the story and the journey of Skims. And this is the big breakthrough, is when you create a brand with any sort of talent, you cannot just pay them to hold something up. I saw this at the start of Culture King's journey. I remember going past this billboard and it was George Clooney and it was this watch ad for Tag Heuer. And I'm like, who is that convincing? It's so obvious he's being paid to wear this watch to do it. That will not work in the future. And this is the exact point, is that it has to be congruent, authentic marketing. And I always like to think this, is that the talent, you have to feel the brand has their marrow in it. And that is what Skims does with Kim Kardashian. You can feel she has that touch on it. She cares about it, about the customer, about sharing that experience, about improving the product. And even on this second year, she was so heavily involved, documented all the behind the scenes, her creative process of how she came up with it. It was brilliant and it took people on the journey. And this is the huge unlock, because you're not paying for all these new customers and you're building on top of this phenomenal base. And Kim continues to take people on the journey, has the enormous top of funnel from her megaphone that people get more and more impressions and every day more just convert to becoming Skims customers. And because the product is so good, more than half go to repeat and keep buying the product. And that's how you can see it going from 400 to 500, 500 to 750 this year, to be able to IPO herself to a 4 billion valuation in 4 years. This is the textbook of talent and operating partner and building this profitable flywheel, because it's made profit from day one and just compounding that to such a brand that it is a brand without Kim. That is where the value is and what ultimately every talent joint venture deal should have the goal of becoming. I totally get the 4 billion valuation. They're going to roll out stores around the world. It's going to be a huge hit. I'd buy shares in the IPO because I believe in the brand long term and Kim's ability to stay culturally relevant, to connect her brilliant marketing campaigns, the NBA Skims being the official partner, but the way that she still interacts in all these events, goes to all the launches. She is so materially invested in this brand. The customer feels it and goes along the journey. What can you learn from this? Influencer, talent, brands, they have to work with the right partner. And I don't believe the big corporate behemoths will have the nimble enough structure that's needed in today's world to be able to run these. I believe they need to completely separate it and invest in a separate team, split it out so you just build this epic flywheel where you've got great product, you've got great marketing, all the best in class e-commerce, retention, leveraging AI. And this will continue because creators and talent and celebrities have this megaphone that just instantly start the brand and get it to cross the chasm in today's world. But unless it's backed up with brilliant product that remarkets properly, that people review, that people rebuy, that the talent stays engaged and takes them behind the scenes along the whole journey of the product, that is what can build a proper next generation of brands. And I believe we'll see this continue, just like Kim Kardashian, but on a mass scale. And yes, some will spike out the gate and fall off, just like Beyonce, Ivy Park, but the ones that will be able to keep that momentum will be able to build real substantial value. And this always ties back to my key theory, is that in this future, the creator can be the new retailer.